Hello everyone, saludos a todos, marhaban bikum jami'an, shio, baashkawalikesh, mabrikah, mabwigal, auniche, sanu, ndewo, habarizenu. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to try to explain the difference between multilingual and polyglot, what it means to be multilingual versus a polyglot, and where I stand as far as what my goals are if I'm shooting to for polyglotism or just multilingualism. So I'm going to give you the definitions of the terms according to this article at least. Um, so I mean, yeah, obviously you all know monolingual is a person who only speaks one language. Monolinguals are about 40% of the world's population. A bilingual person, of course, is one who speaks two languages. Um, so that's around 43% of people. Trilingual is someone who speaks three languages. So that's around 13% of the world. And multilingual is someone who speaks 4 to 5 languages. And that accounts for only 3% of people around the world. And then we have polyglots who can speak 6 to 12 languages, and yeah, and they account for less than 1% of people. And then an even more elite group, so to speak, are the hyperpolyglots who can speak over 12 languages. All right, so before getting into this, we have to define what is meant by speaking a language, right? Like, what do you mean by you know a language or you speak a language? So, according to this, um, where is it? So, when you say you can speak a language or you know a language, you're talking there. People usually understand that to mean fluency, some kind of fluency, right? So, where does fluency start? Well, according to this, it starts on the B level. I've actually seen somewhere else that is technically B2 is where fluency starts. So yeah, so keep that in mind. It's really important when someone says that they speak X amount of languages. It's very important. It's an important detail to know. At what level they speak them, right? Because if they speak, below a B2 level, then at least me personally, I couldn't in good conscience count those in my repertoire. As far as, when I'm asked by somebody how many languages I speak, I would just tell them the languages I know, at a fairly fluent level, which, I consider to be B2. Um, of course, we went over these levels on other videos, but just to clarify, A is a basic level. So you have beginner to elementary. I usually include A0 in there. That's just like someone who's just really starting. They only know like, a few basic words and phrases. Um, yeah, A1 is, beginner. A2, they call it elementary, but I would argue that it could be considered also lower intermediate. B1, it's a solid intermediate level. Um, B is those are independent user level. So yeah, B1 solid intermediate. I guess you can. Well, B2 upper intermediate, and I would say that B2 could be considered lower advanced as well. C1 solid advanced, and C2 is just complete proficiency, like close to native level. All right, so So yeah, and then you have some examples of famous hyper polyglots. And it's debatable how much of this is legit, right? Because as far as if all these languages are in the B2 or above levels, so you have some famous ones here. Um, so as far as me personally, let's go to my map, right? So originally, I mean, you all know my story, but I'll just go over it briefly. I've been interested in language learning since I was in my early teens, I guess maybe 13 years old, 12 or 13. Um, Obviously English is my first language. Spanish is, uh, it's kind of, I mean, I've been around it all my life since I was a kid. So I've always been in a state of passively learning it, and understanding a lot of it, but not speaking it. So I kind of count that with English, even though it's technically not my native language. But at any rate, so officially, the first language that I ever started learning was Italian. Partly because it's how close it is to Spanish. And then I started with Arabic, and then at around 7 years ago or so, I started to focus more on heritage languages that I had a more or less direct connection to. And then I saw, like, one of my main inspirations was Moses McCormick, Lao Shu. Um, I think his first video I saw of him, the first video I saw of him was his Navajo one, Dene Bizad, and that really inspired me. And also Tim Donor was a big influence. Um, not as extreme as Moses, but still 20, 23, that's a lot. Um, so yeah, so I basically started making long lists of 200 languages or so, and and then later on in life I started to get a little more practical about it, and to give more of a focus on my heritage languages. Um, and a good friend of mine really helped me in that direction. So I guess you can say that now I'm trying to find a middle ground between those two. As far as just being a polyglot, just like a general interest in language learning, and focusing on heritage languages. And I know I went over that in previous videos, so I won't go any further. But so yeah, so now I'm down. My list is down to 20 languages. Um, so what am I shooting for now, right? Originally, as the original name of my channel indicated, I was trying to be a polyglot, not really knowing what the word meant. I was probably actually trying to be more like a hyper polyglot, to be specific, but now, all right. So as I explained in previous videos, I have my languages divided into two groups: Group One and Group Two, or as I like to call them, the A list and the B list. So in the A list, these are languages from a B1 to a C2 level, so that I want to learn at those levels. And I have two de facto top. Like, I have my de facto top two, which are Cherokee and Island Arawak. Um, but yeah, generally this list is gonna range from intermediate to mastery. That's my goal, at least. So how many languages do I have in this group? I have 8, right? I have some. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of this one probably. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, I have a few, different, some dialect variations and focus dialects in the darker shade. Um, but yeah, there's eight, and then so then if you count English and Spanish, that makes it 10. So you have 10 languages in the B or C levels, right? Um, so that would put me, that would put me clearly in the category of polyglot. However, it should be noted that you know some of these are in the B1, right? This includes B1 as well. So B1, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people would consider that some kind of fluency, but I think B2 is a safer um it is it's just safer to start at B2 with fluency, I think, when you consider it fluency. So technically speaking, it would be the number would be less than 10. Um so according to this, if I'm shooting for multilingualism only, it would be 4 to 5. So that's possible. Um, it's also possible, that it'll be more than that are B2 and above in the A list. Um, so whatever the case, we're looking at somewhere between multilingual and polyglot, which is fine with me, honestly. I've given up the days of wanting to be a hyper polyglot, and I'm really not even that. I'm really not even that. Uh, you know, it's not that serious for me anymore to even to be a polyglot. I'm not even really concerned that much with being a polyglot. Um, but yeah, it'll range, right, between multilingual and polyglot, which I think is I think it's a good spot to be in, right? Because one of the counter arguments to being a polyglot that really stuck with me is that yeah, it's not to say that you don't have the ability to do it, right? To fluently speak like up to 12 languages, but it'll just take from the languages that you're learning, right? I mean, unless you have just unlimited time on your hands, but most of us don't. So it's just a lot more practical to try to go with less, right? So that argument really stuck with me. But at the same time, I'm the kind of person where I can't just learn one language, right? I'll get bored with it. I'll get burned out. Um, so it kind of helps to have this hierarchy that I made for myself. A hierarchy of priorities. Because I switch. I had some languages have more frequency than others. Obviously, the ones that have the most priority have the most frequency, right? Like Cherokee and Island Arawak. These are gonna be I'm gonna be studying them on a weekly basis, right? Um, as opposed to the others, which will be monthly, like monthly basis to sometimes 2 times a month, right? And these are 2 day intervals, 2 to 7 day intervals actually. I give myself a range there. And yeah, and then I have my B list obviously, which is from A0 to A1 to A2. Now, at the mirror, the flip side of the of my de facto top two, I have my low three, right? These three, it's. I mean, honestly, I'm not really gonna be learning them in any serious way. Um, these are gonna be at an A0 to an A1 level at the most. So I'm not really that concerned about. Not a lot of effort's gonna be put into them. In other words, for a variety of reasons. Doesn't no reflection on them, but it's just the way it is. So you could kind of knock those three off, maybe. Um, so it would leave me with 17. But but they're on. They're kind of they're kind of token languages. But the rest of the nine uh, group one or group two languages, B list languages, are A1 to A2. So yeah, so at the most like lower intermediate level. Um, so yeah, so in other words, I'm never like if I when I say that I speak a language, or if someone asks me how many languages, I wouldn't count these in them at all, right? I might say I speak a little, but I wouldn't say that I speak them full stop, if that makes any sense. Um, so yeah, that's about it, I think. Um, yeah, so leave your comments below, any questions, and I appreciate you all, and hopefully I'm trying to put out videos on a weekly basis, at least once a week now, so expect one from me shortly. All right, take care, everyone.